Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a truly astonishing set of sources. We've got articles, personal accounts, even some scientific notes. And they seem to reveal this hidden world, mythical creatures, and, well, a conspiracy stretching across dimensions.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is how these seemingly disconnected incidents on Earth,
Hmm.
they actually lead us to uncover this deeply complex, engineered reality. It challenges our very understanding of what's real. So our mission really is to pull out the core insights from these layered narratives and discover what's actually going on beneath it all.
Right. So prepare yourself for a deep dive that twists from quiet Welsh village all the way to a world where ancient legends are very much alive. And maybe, just maybe, part of some grand scientific experiment. So our journey kicks off with what seem like, well, deeply unsettling but strangely mundane events almost. Think about Bathsheba. She's a character from our sources living in this rural Welsh village. Her life was already tough because she had a withered arm, and the local folk wisdom, it marked her as having witch's blood. The fear around her was palpable.
Oh, absolutely. And she saw something truly awful. Her own father throwing a deformed foal onto this constantly burning fire they kept behind the farm.
Which wasn't just cruelty, right? It was driven by this terrifying belief that Bathsheba herself, because of her witch's blood, might have caused the deformity.
It just throws you straight into this world, doesn't it? Where fear and superstition are so deep. This whole idea of witch's blood and burning, it's this chilling undercurrent we see again and again, and it connects to something darker. Later, Bathsheba stumbles upon this really terrifying scene in the woods. There's a thick stone post.
Yeah, the source says it was engraved deeply with signs and wardings against the power of our own.
Exactly. And hanging from it by chains is what looks like a blackened corpse.
Yeah.
But then, well, the head lifts up, white eyes wide open, and instead of a scream, this torrent of oily black smoke just pours out.
You can just feel her terror.
You really can. Especially when she remembers what the village elders Sion taught them, that demons could escape from somewhere called Goibhnie's Island, and you could recognize them by a mark on the back of the neck. And the only remedy, burning.
The source even says Bathsheba shivered and instinctively rubbed the back of her own neck just thinking about it.
It's powerful stuff.
And then, as if that wasn't unsettling enough, we jump to what sounds like, a standard police investigation. Inspector Anderson, Constable Parker, they're at a bus crash near Land for Harryog. But right away, it's weird. The suitcases are just stuffed with cash.
Yeah. 50,000 in that one, sir, one of them says. Just incredible amounts.
And the passengers, no ID. None at all, except for the driver, a Mr. Selwyn Hughes. But the real twist, I think, comes from Sergeant Yardley at the hospital. All the victims, they're wearing brand new clothes.
Brand spankin' new, as the source puts it, from Marks and Sparks. It's Marks and Spencer, a big UK store with the price tag still attached.
Right, which immediately raises questions.
Huge questions. What's the significance of this mark? It's definitely not a normal birthmark. And the circumstances, well, they hint at something way more organized, something deliberate, not just a random accident. And Yardley finds this dark, discolored patch of skin on the necks of some victims.
It's described really specifically, isn't it? Regularly shaped and split into three distinct sections, joined by jagged brown lines, like a triangle with a half moon, a hexagon, and a circle.
Exactly. 5 of them just like that, the mark always in the same place, just behind the ear on the neck. That detail is crucial.
So, okay, we're definitely not just talking about strange accidents anymore. These bizarre events are piling up the burnings, the crash victims, with this weird mark. You start wondering, what if these aren't just old myths? What if these creatures are actually real?
And that's where it takes another sharp turn. We get these American tourists, Jack and David, and they literally witness a centaur, Chiron, being burnt to death.
By a local policeman, no less. Constable Hughes, the same name as the bus driver's ID.
Interesting connection. And David is absolutely adamant it was murder. He insists Chiron was a real person, that he'd spoken to him.
And then on top of that, there's Stuart Taylor, a vet. He goes out on a foaling call, finds a unicorn's horn just lying in the straw.
Which prompts him to try and contact Inspector Stevens, who we'll hear more about. Specifically, about unusual animals appearing. It feels like someone is actively trying to hush this all up.
Definitely seems like it.
So you see how these isolated things, ancient folklore, modern eyewitness accounts, weird accidents, they're starting to weave together to something
Yeah.
cohesive. The key is not seeing them as separate incidents, right? They're pieces of a much larger puzzle. And it's frankly, astonishing.
And it's right here, as our sources lay it out, that things get really interesting. The curtain starts to pull back, revealing this world that, well, it just shouldn't exist. This is when the Doctor and his companion Ace arrive on the scene in the land for Kyriog.
Right, and their TARDIS, the time machine that's damaged, it actually shows up looking like a silver cat.
Yeah.
Which is a subtle hint, the sources suggest, about its connection to something called Artron energy, a sort of vital cosmic power, and this bigger, mysterious alien process that seems to be influencing everything.
And they meet this local guy, Old Davy, who seems completely unfazed by the Doctor turning up. Almost like he expects weird stuff to happen.
Which is a clue in itself, isn't it? And the Doctor immediately notices something fundamental about this other world, Tir na Nog. It has two suns. There's the day sun drawn behind Dagda's war chariot, and the night sun drawn behind Oron's chariot. And that night sun casts this constant red twilight over the whole landscape.
That red twilight sounds pretty ominous.
It is. And if you think about the bigger picture, the environment itself is practically a character here. It's shaping how people live, their fears, their desperate decisions. These ideas of Dagda's wheel and Aeron's wheel, the suns, they're not just scenery. They're fundamental to this world's reality.
So the Doctor and Ace, they start investigating Dinorban. That's this fortress where the local council meets.
Right, the council is called the Tuatha De Danann. They're described as this ancient, powerful race. Dinorban is also where a keystone circle is located. And historically, Dinorban's got this creepy reputation, site of mysterious disappearances, a whole farming cooperative in the 19th century, even a Roman villa before that, just vanished.
Wow. And what's Tir na Nog like now?
Well, it's in a pretty dire state. You've got that constant red twilight, this hellish glow coming from Aeron's wheel, the night sun. And there's apparently a plague of demons that have been unleashed by this figure, Goibhnie, the Tuatha De Danann. They're desperate. Their plan is basically to evacuate everyone they can to Earth, using that stone circle as a gateway, because they're terrified of the demons and, well, their resources are running out fast.
Okay, so who are the people living there? It's not just the Tuatha De Danann, right?
Now, our sources list 5 distinct races. There are humans, like us. Then the Fomor, who sound quite imposing. The Siti, described as having a sort of fox-like lineage. The Furbolg. And the Seafoal, which are essentially unicorns.
Unicorns. Okay. And that mark from the coach crash victims, the witch mark.
It comes right back here, full circle. It's that same triangular mark. And it's present on all the races of Tir na Nog, except humans. But, and this is crucial, it's also found on some humans there, the ones labeled witches, who are described as being full of evil and malice and hatred for true humans.
That creates a really difficult moral question, doesn't it? I mean, in this desperate situation, who counts as human?
Yeah.
Who deserves to escape? It's messy.
Very messy. And Ace's perspective really adds another layer here. Initially, she's just disgusted by the place, the squalor, the barbaric culture, especially the burning of these witches.
I can imagine.
But then she starts to feel real empathy for the people of Tir na Nog. She sees them as hunted, as victims of circumstance. And she has this unique ability. She can communicate telepathically with Bat, one of the unicorns, and the whole Cephal herd. And guess what? They also have the witch mark.
The unicorns have the mark, too. Wow.
Yeah. And the Seafoal have this fascinating ritual involving a touchstone. It seems to reveal auras or true feelings and allows them to project images like possible futures or just communicate complex ideas directly. It really highlights, the adaptability of life, but also that deep-seated fear and prejudice that can just explode in desperate times, even when everyone's facing the same threat.
So what does this all mean for us, for you listening? The deeper we go into these sources, the more it feels like this isn't just some fantasy realm that happens to exist. It feels much more deliberate and, yeah, kind of chilling. Back on Earth, remember Inspector Stevens, the one the vet tried to call?
Yes, the inspector looking into unusual animal sightings.
Well, he's got his own investigation going. He's building this file he calls the Unmissing People file. He's tracking people who just appear in London, Birmingham, Cardiff. No birth certificates, no records, nothing. Just there.
Appearing out of nowhere.
Exactly. And he runs into Constable Hughes, remember, the policeman who burned the centaur. Hughes seems to be actively blocking Stevens' questions, apparently protecting someone named Emery's. And Stevens starts connecting the dots. These unmissing people, the coach, crash victims with that weird neck mark. It all seems to point back to Dinorban.
And that right there is the real aha moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
The human side of this story, these people just appearing on Earth, they're the direct real-world fallout from what's happening over in Tir na Nog.
It links the two worlds directly.
Absolutely. But the biggest shock, the real bombshell revelation comes when the Doctor, Stuart the Vet, and Bathsheba make this dangerous trip to what they think is Goibhnie's island. They have to get past things that look like demons.
Only to find out Goibhnie isn't some ancient druid or mythical figure at all.
Not even close. He's a scientist. A Troy-friend scientist, part of some advanced alien race living in this incredibly high-tech facility. And his big project, codenamed Turnog, that's a massive sociological experiment. He kidnapped humans from Earth centuries ago to use as breeding stock to populate Tir na Nog.
Kidnapped humans as breeding stock. That's horrifying. So Tir na Nog, this whole world, is basically a lab.
Essentially, yes, a giant contained experiment. And those demons causing the plague.
Let me guess, not supernatural.
Nope. They're Goibhnie's rejects. His own creations that were too violent, unsociable, undesirable. They escaped because a force field on his storage module failed.
So we're not talking hellfire and brimstone. We're talking failed lab experiments running loose. That's almost more terrifying, isn't it? The coldness of it.
The cold, amoral calculation. Viewing an entire world, its people, its suffering as just data points. And get this, the dragon scene flying around. Also not mythical beasts.
Surveillance drones.
Biomechanoids, exactly. Goibhnie's surveillance units, designed to track down his escaped rejects. Not fire-breathing lizards at all.
Wow. So this whole mythical landscape is just window dressing for an alien science project.
Pretty much. And there's another twist. We learn about Hearn. He's described as a mutated human-type being, another result of Goibhnie's experiments. And Hearn has this bizarre ability to perceive effect before cause. He sees the result before the action happens.
Whoa.
And apparently it was Hearn who suggested Goibhnie model the Turnog experiment on the legends of the Sol system, our Earth myths. That's why Tir na Nog looks the way it does. It was designed that way.
So our myths inspired an alien experiment that then created creatures that look like our myths. That's a head spinner.
It really is. And it just hammers home those profound questions about scientific responsibility, doesn't it? Goibhnie's complete detachment. It's chilling. Seeing life, death, whole civilizations as just variables in his experiment, it forces you to confront that ethical abyss science without any conscience, where worlds become data.
Okay, so the stage is set for a pretty dramatic showdown, right? The fate of Earth, the fate of Tir na Nog, it's all hanging in the balance. And General Nuada, the guy in charge at D. Norben, fiercely protective, hates the witches. There's more to him, too.
Oh, yeah. Big twist there. It turns out Nuada himself has been, well, altered. Maybe possessed by one of those escaped demons. The sources say he absorbed the scattered remains of the centaurs, maybe Kanarin, and became this depraved monstrosity.
So the guy fighting the monsters became one himself.
Exactly. It really shows how corrupting those demonic entities are, blurring the lines between victim and aggressor, hero and villain. It gets incredibly murky.
So how do they stop the demons from getting to Earth through that stone circle?
Well, the doctor comes up with a plan. It involves reactivating the transmat device, basically the teleport system within the stone circle. But he reprograms it. Instead of sending people to Earth, it's set to grab the demons surging towards it and send them back to Goibhnie's storage module.
Clever. Does it work?
We get this really dramatic scene described in a tunnel. Demons flooding towards the gateway, this energy field activating and just disintegrating them as they hit it.
Intense. And what about David? The American tourist, he doesn't get left behind, does he?
No, but he goes through a terrifying ordeal first. He actually gets kidnapped by some of the people in Tir na Nog. They were going to burn him like a witch.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And during that, he actually becomes possessed by one of the demons. But the doctor performs this fascinating scientific exorcism. He uses fire, just simple candles, arguing the demon is a primitive protoplasmic being repelled by the heat and light. It's a great contrast because Inspector Stevens tries a traditional, religious exorcism, which doesn't work nearly as well. Shows the doctor's unique perspective.
Science versus superstition, even in an exorcism. Okay, so the immediate threat is dealt with.
Yes, but then comes the aftermath. To make sure the connection is permanently severed, Ace uses her explosives to destroy the stone circle.
Yeah.
The gateway to Earth is gone.
Which means...
Well, it has huge consequences for the Cephal, the unicorns, Bat, and the others who crossed over. They're now trapped on Earth. And because the link to their homeworld, Tir na Nog, is broken, their horns, they literally shrink, reduced to just stumps.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Their horns were part of their identity, their magic.
Exactly. It's really poignant. But the doctor, always trying to fix things, he promises Bat he'll get in touch with UNIT.
The Unified Intelligence Task Force.
That's the one. He specifically mentions Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who apparently has a soft spot for horses. The idea is UNIT can help the Cephal adapt to life on Earth.
A sort of interspecies refugee program.
Sort of, yeah. Meanwhile, back in the village, old Davy just kind of accepts the weirdness.
Yeah.
He notices the local pub, the Black Swan, is locked up now. Things are different, but he just adapts. His reality has shifted. And there's one last worrying note. The doctor's TARDIS is described as dying. It lost a lot of energy dealing with that mysterious process, leaving it vulnerable, setting up, well, whatever comes next for them.
Wow. So a frantic interdimensional rescue saving Earth. But these consequences just linger, don't they? Having gone through all these sources, that image of the cephal, the unicorn, stranded here with their horns broken, what's your strongest takeaway from that? It feels like such a sad footnote.
It really does. It powerfully highlights the unintended consequences, doesn't it, of these grand, ambitious experiments. Even of heroic actions, there's always a cost. And it does leave you with that lingering thought about our own world. What if some of the myths, the unexplained things we just dismiss? What if they are displaced beings, entities from other realities, other experiments, just trying to find their way, like the cephal? It makes you wonder.
What an incredible deep dive that was, seriously. From a rural farm's dark secrets all the way to a sentient alien scientific experiment on a planetary scale, it really forces you to reconsider the very fabric of reality, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We've seen how fear and ignorance can so easily label differences evil. We've seen the terrifying ethical dangers when scientific ambition runs completely unchecked. But also, the surprising resilience of humans, yes, but also of these supposedly mythical creatures faced with just extraordinary, unimaginable circumstances.
But it definitely leaves us, and hopefully you listening, with a really provocative thought. If an entire world, Tir Not Og, can basically be a sociological experiment, designed, maintained, almost curated by this detached alien intelligence, what does that imply about our own sense of place, our purpose? Could there be other experiments unfolding around us, just beyond our perception? And how would we react if we found out our reality was just one grand design?
Indeed. Makes you think, doesn't it? So the next time you hear a strange local report, maybe a legend that seems too weird to be true, perhaps just ask yourself, is there maybe more to this than meets the eye?